Family, let me ask you something today. Have you ever walked into a room, seen someone you know, smiled with your whole heart, and they just ignored you? Oh, yes, I know you have! That little silence, that cold shoulder, it stings deeper than words. But listen carefully, your value is not diminished by somebody's silence. When people ignore you, it doesn't say who you are, it says who they are. When someone ignores you, the first thing that usually comes to our mind is, what did I do wrong? Am I not good enough? Why are they treating me like this? But let me remind you, silence is not rejection, it is reflection. It is not always about you. Many times, it is about the world they are carrying within themselves. People project their inner battles outwardly. If someone is insecure, if someone is jealous, if someone is weighed down by pain, their behavior towards you often reflects that inner turbulence. Their silence, their ignorance is like a mirror. It shows us what is inside them, not who we truly are. Imagine this. You walk into your workplace in the morning with joy on your face. You greet a colleague with a cheerful, "Good morning," and they just walk past you without even making eye contact. Now, your mind can go in two directions. One path is the insecure voice that says, "They must not like me. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I am not important." That path drains your confidence and makes you restless. But the other path is the wise voice that says, maybe they had a bad morning. Maybe they had a fight at home. Maybe they are battling something I cannot see. That path gives you peace because you understand it's not a rejection of you, it's a reflection of their state of mind. Silence is very often misunderstood. When people ignore us, we assume their silence equals our failure. But silence is not a stamp on your worth. Silence is not a certificate of rejection. Silence is simply soundless communication of what's happening inside them. And sometimes silence is louder than words. The person who avoids you may actually be drowning in insecurity. The one who ignores your presence may secretly feel threatened by your success. The one who looks past you may be struggling to handle their own pain. Let me give you another example. A bright student enters a classroom full of ideas and energy. Another student in the corner ignores them, never claps for their answers, never smiles at their achievements. If the bright student reacts emotionally, thinking, "I must not be good enough," they lose confidence. But if the student understands that maybe the other person is comparing, maybe they are struggling with jealousy, maybe they don't know how to appreciate others, that perspective saves their heart. Because ignoring is rarely about you, it is a reflection of them. This understanding is powerful. It stops you from personalizing other people's behavior. It teaches you that their silence doesn't measure your value. Think of it this way: if a mirror is dirty, it reflects a blurred picture. That does not mean your face is dirty, it means the mirror is unclear. Likewise, when someone ignores you, their reflection is blurred by their own dirt, be it insecurity, envy, or personal struggles. Don't mistake their unclear reflection for your true image. Life is too short to let every silent treatment shake your peace. You must train your mind to separate who you are from how people treat you. Because in reality, people's treatment of you is more about them than it is about you. The person who is full of love will radiate love to everyone. The person who is full of bitterness will project bitterness. If someone ignores you, it may simply mean their inner world has no space for acknowledgement at that moment. It doesn't mean you are not worthy of acknowledgement. Think of a flower blooming in a garden. Some people will walk by and admire its beauty, stop to smell it, take a picture, or even water it. Others will walk past without a glance, too busy on their phones, too distracted to notice. Now tell me, does the flower lose its fragrance because someone ignored it? Does it stop blooming? Does it stop being beautiful? No, the flower continues to radiate its fragrance, whether people notice it or not. In the same way, your worth doesn't change based on who chooses to see it or who chooses to ignore it. There's another truth hidden here. Sometimes silence is not even about insecurity or jealousy. Sometimes silence means a person doesn't know how to express themselves. Maybe they were never taught how to appreciate others. Maybe they never learned how to respond warmly. If they ignore you, it doesn't mean they hate you. It could mean they simply lack the skill to express acknowledgement. Once again, their silence is a reflection of their upbringing, their experiences, their limitations, not of you. When you truly embrace this truth, you stop reacting to silence with hurt. You begin to see it with compassion. Instead of thinking, why don't they see me? You start thinking, I hope they find healing for whatever they are going through. That shift is transformational because it frees you from emotional slavery. You are no longer tied to their response to feel complete. So the next time you face ignorance, take a step back. Tell yourself, this is not about me. Their silence is a reflection, not a rejection. Say it again and again until it settles in your heart. Protect your peace because your peace is too precious to be disturbed by someone else's inability to see your worth. When you understand this, life becomes lighter. You stop running after people's validation. You stop bending yourself to win attention. Instead, you stand firm in your identity, knowing that whether people clap for you or not, you are still worthy, still valuable, still radiant. Their silence cannot cancel your purpose. Their ignorance cannot erase your light. Remember this always. Silence is not rejection, it is reflection. Don't chase shadows. That sounds simple, but if we look deeply into our lives, we will realize how often we exhaust ourselves doing just that. A shadow is something that looks real, yet when you stretch your hand to grab it, you catch nothing. The same happens when we try to pursue people who are determined to ignore us, who refuse to value our presence, who consistently deny our worth. Chasing them is like chasing shadows. You will run endlessly, you will tire yourself out, but you will return with empty hands. The truth is, no matter how much you run after a shadow, it will always stay one step ahead. And the same applies to human relationships. When you keep chasing people who are not willing to see you, you only lose your strength without gaining their true attention. Think about this. You send a message to a friend, and hours go by with no reply. Days pass, and still nothing. Yet you keep checking your phone again and again, waiting for their acknowledgement. You see them online, posting, commenting on others, but not once responding to you. Your heart sinks, but you keep hoping. That's the exhausting journey of chasing shadows. Instead of protecting your peace, you tie your worth to their recognition, and in the process, you lose yourself. But the wise choice is to understand If someone cannot recognize your value while you are present in their life, they do not deserve your desperate pursuit when they walk away. Let me share an image. Imagine standing in the sunlight. Behind you is your shadow stretched on the ground. If you keep turning around, trying to run toward it, you will never touch it. But if you simply keep facing the light, the shadow will follow you without effort. That is exactly how it is with people. When you focus on your light, your growth, your purpose, the right people, the ones meant to value you, will naturally walk with you. You don't need to waste your time chasing those who are determined to slip away. Many times in life, we believe attention equals love or recognition equals acceptance. So when someone withholds it, we feel we must prove ourselves. We bend over backwards, we overextend ourselves, we compromise our dignity, hoping one day they will notice. But here is the hard truth. If you have to beg for someone's acknowledgement, even if they finally give it, it will never be genuine. Love that must be demanded is not love at all. Respect that must be chased will never last. Value that must be proven will never be secure. Think of a young professional in the workplace. She works late nights, goes beyond her responsibilities, and tries to impress her manager, who constantly ignores her contributions. Every project, every idea she pours herself into, hoping one day that manager will finally say, "Well done," but he doesn't. Instead, he praises others, sometimes even taking credit for her work. Now, if she keeps chasing his acknowledgement, she will end up drained, bitter, and resentful. But if she stops chasing and decides to let her work shine for itself, eventually the right people, maybe even outside that company, will see her brilliance. And then she will realize the time she wasted running after shadows could have been spent walking toward the light of her own destiny. Another everyday example in friendships or relationships. Some people play the silent game. They ignore your calls. They dismiss your presence. But the moment you pull away, they suddenly act like you were wrong to leave. This back and forth keeps you trapped in a cycle of proving yourself. But here is where wisdom must step in. You don't need to chase someone who is running away from you. If they truly valued you, they wouldn't make you beg for a seat in their life. If they truly cared, they wouldn't make you compete with their silence. Chasing shadows also robs you of self-respect. Each time you lower yourself to run after someone who refuses to turn around, you silently tell yourself, "I am not enough on my own. I need them to complete me." But let me tell you the truth. You are already whole. You don't need another person's attention to validate your worth. Your value is inherent, not granted by someone else's recognition. The tragedy is that so many people lose themselves in trying to hold on to those who were never meant to stay. There is a story of a traveler walking through a desert. He saw a mirage in the distance, water glistening under the hot sun. Thirsty and desperate, he kept walking faster, chasing that shimmer, believing relief was ahead. But as he got closer, the water disappeared. It was nothing but an illusion. That is exactly how it is when we chase people who ignore us. We see the illusion of fulfillment, but when we finally reach them, there is nothing. We are left thirsty, drained, disappointed. The lesson? Stop running after illusions. Your peace and dignity are more valuable than mirages. Instead, turn toward your light. Turn toward people who celebrate you without being asked, who answer your presence with warmth, who see your worth without you proving it. These are the people who deserve your energy. Stop spending your life trying to convince those who are blind to your value. Even if you bring the brightest lamp to someone with closed eyes, they still won't see. But give that same lamp to someone willing to open their eyes, and they will treasure its glow. So remember this always. Don't chase shadows. Don't run after those who choose to walk away. Stand firm in your light, face your destiny, and let your growth attract those who are meant to journey with you. Chasing shadows will only leave you weary, but walking in your own light will fill your path with strength, dignity, and people who truly deserve your presence. Your peace is priceless, more precious than gold, more valuable than diamonds, more rare than the rarest treasure. Yet how often do we spend it so cheaply? We hand it over to the careless words of others, to the silence of someone ignoring us, to the opinions that were never meant to define us. The truth is, peace of mind is one of the greatest gifts you can ever possess, and once it is disturbed, you realize just how expensive it really is. Every time you react to someone's ignorance, every time you let their indifference invade your heart, you are spending a piece of your peace. And unlike money, unlike possessions, peace is not easy to earn back. That's why protecting it must become your highest priority. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning with a calm spirit. You're ready for the day, filled with positive energy. Then, on your way to work, a colleague walks right past you without returning your greeting. In that moment, you have a choice. You can either let their silence ruin your mood, replaying it in your head all day, thinking, "Why didn't they respond? Did I do something wrong? Do they not like me?" Or you can say to yourself, "Maybe they're having a tough day. That's not my burden to carry. My peace is too valuable to give away so easily." Which choice protects your spirit? The second. Because in guarding your peace, you guard your joy, your focus, and your ability to keep moving forward. Peace is like water in a vessel. If you keep it steady, it remains calm, clear, and refreshing. But if you keep shaking it with reactions to every slight, every silence, every ignorance, the water becomes disturbed, murky, and restless. Many people go through life with a restless heart because they let everyone around them hold the handle of their vessel. They let someone's indifference stir them. They allow another person's cold attitude to shake them. And at the end of the day, they are drained not because life is hard, but because they gave away their peace too cheaply. Let me share a simple story. A man once asked a wise teacher, "How do I find peace when people keep mistreating me?" The teacher smiled, poured tea into a cup, and kept pouring until it overflowed. The student jumped back and said, "It's spilling." The teacher calmly replied, "Exactly. When you are already filled with peace, no matter what others pour into you, insults, ignorance, rejection, it cannot disturb you unless you allow your cup to be emptied by them." The message is clear: peace comes from within, and it is priceless. Once you understand its worth, you stop allowing others to spill it. Every reaction costs you something. Think of how much energy is lost when you react in anger or sadness to someone ignoring you. You replay it in your head, you discuss it with others, you lose sleep over it. Hours, even days, are stolen from you because of one moment of silence from someone else. Is their silence worth your peace? Absolutely not. Why let one person's choice disturb the calm of your entire being? Think of an artist at work. They are painting with focus, carefully crafting something beautiful. Now imagine someone passing by and ignoring their work, refusing to acknowledge the masterpiece. If the artist stops painting, breaks the brush, and spends the rest of the day sulking about that one passerby, the true loss is not the passerby's silence, it is the artist's lost peace, lost art, lost joy. In life, you are the artist, and your piece is the brush. Guard it. Because without it, your life's masterpiece becomes incomplete. Even in relationships, peace is more valuable than proving yourself. Sometimes you may feel the urge to argue, to fight for recognition, to demand acknowledgement. But ask yourself, at what cost? Winning an argument but losing your peace is not a victory. Gaining a reaction but draining your joy is not success. The greatest strength is to walk away with your peace intact. That dignity speaks louder than any loud reaction ever could. In the modern world, we protect our phones with passwords, our homes with locks, our money with banks. But how many of us protect our peace with the same intensity? If your phone was stolen, you would rush to track it, to block it, to secure it. Yet when your peace is stolen by someone's ignorance, do you guard it with the same urgency? Most people don't. But the truth is, peace is worth more than all those possessions combined. Because with peace, you can rebuild anything. Without peace, even the richest life feels empty. Think of a calm lake in the early morning. The surface reflects the sky, the trees, the beauty around it. Now imagine that lake being disturbed by every pebble thrown into it. The reflection disappears, the water loses its clarity. That lake is your mind. If you allow every person's action, every bit of ignorance, every cold shoulder to throw stones into your lake, your peace will always be disturbed, and you will never reflect the beauty of life. But if you learn to let those stones sink without reacting, your peace will remain like that still lake, calm and radiant. So remember, your peace is priceless. Never trade it for someone's attention. Never sell it cheap for the currency of reaction. Guard it with all your strength. Because once you learn the art of valuing your peace, you become untouchable. No silence can unsettle you. No ignorance can shake you. No rejection can steal your calm. And that truly is freedom. Pause before you react. These 4 words can transform the way you live, the way you deal with people, and the way you preserve your inner peace. Reaction is quick, instant, often uncontrolled. It comes from emotion, from ego, from the sudden fire of the moment. But wisdom is patient. Wisdom knows the value of silence. Wisdom understands that not every situation requires a counterattack. When you pause before reacting, you give yourself the power to choose dignity over drama, peace over pain, clarity over confusion. That pause is not weakness, it is strength, it is mastery. It is the art of controlling yourself in a world that is constantly trying to control you. Imagine someone ignoring you in front of others. You greet them warmly, they turn their head away. In that instant, your heart burns. Anger rises, ego screams, "Show them! Answer back!" Let them know you can't be treated this way. But what if you paused? What if you let that moment breathe before you chose your next step? That pause is like a filter. It cleans out the impulsive reaction and leaves you with the wise response. If you fire back immediately, you may say something you regret later, something that shows their ignorance has infected your spirit. But if you pause, you rise above the trap. You walk away not as a victim of their behavior, but as a master of your own emotions. Think about driving a car. When a red light comes, you pause. Why? Because rushing forward without pause could cause a crash. Life is the same. Every time someone throws ignorance at you, it is like a red light. If you rush, you crash. If you pause, you protect yourself and move forward safely when the time is right. That pause is not wasting time. It is saving you from accidents of words, accidents of anger, accidents of pride. A beautiful example can be seen in nature. Have you noticed how the lion reacts? The lion is called the king, not because it is the fastest, but because of the way it carries itself. When disturbed, the lion doesn't jump instantly at every sound. It pauses, it observes, it waits, and then it chooses its move with confidence. That pause is the secret of its strength. In contrast, smaller animals bark, squeal, and flap at every disturbance. They live in reaction, but the lion, calm and composed, lives in response. That is the difference between reacting instantly and pausing with power. There was once a wise monk walking through a market. A man began insulting him, shouting harsh words, ignoring his presence as a human being. The crowd gathered, awaiting for the monk to retaliate. But the monk kept walking, his face calm. Later, a disciple asked, "Master, why didn't you respond? He disrespected you in front of everyone." The monk smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The disciple answered, "It belongs to the giver." The monk said, "Exactly." I paused. I did not accept his insult. It stays with him, not with me. That is the power of pausing before you react. It leaves the weight of negativity with the one who started it. Think of your own life. How many arguments, how many regrets, how many sleepless nights could have been avoided if only you had paused for a moment before reacting. Words spoken in anger are like arrows released from a bow. Once they leave, you cannot pull them back. But if you pause, you can keep the arrow of your words in your hand and aim them wisely when the time is right. Pausing is not silence forever. It is choosing the right time, the right tone, the right energy to speak. In daily life, the pause can save relationships. A parent about to shout at a child for a mistake can pause, breathe, and choose to guide instead of scold. A spouse about to react in hurt can pause, listen and understand before replying. A worker about to argue with a boss can pause, think, and respond with maturity. That pause changes outcomes. It turns potential conflicts into opportunities for growth. The pause also gives you dignity. The world expects you to lash out, to defend, to attack back. But when you pause, you surprise everyone. You show them you are not controlled by emotion, but by wisdom. You teach them that your spirit is stronger than their silence, stronger than their ignorance. Your pause becomes your roar, louder than any reaction could ever be. And let's not forget, the pause is also healing. It gives your mind a chance to settle, your heart a chance to cool, your spirit a chance to breathe. In that space, you find clarity. You realize that not everything needs a reaction, not everyone deserves your energy, Not every silence requires your noise. Some things are best left unanswered. And that pause gives you the courage to walk away without losing yourself. So the next time someone ignores you, pause. Don't let your ego decide. Let your wisdom decide. Don't let your anger speak. Let your peace speak. That one moment of stillness is more powerful than 100 words of reaction. Remember, pausing is not losing, it is choosing. Choosing yourself over their ignorance, choosing dignity over drama, choosing peace over pain. And when you master the pause, you master yourself. That truly is the mark of a strong and wise soul. See the bigger picture. Those words may sound simple, but they hold the secret to freedom from unnecessary pain. When someone ignores you, when they refuse to notice your presence, when they treat you like you don't matter, it is easy to shrink your world to that one moment, that one person, that one situation. You keep staring at the closed door until your heart forgets there are 100 other open doors waiting for you. But wisdom calls you to lift your eyes higher, to see beyond the present moment, to see beyond their silence, and to realize that sometimes what feels like rejection is actually redirection. Life has a way of closing some doors because they are not meant to lead you anywhere. If you could see the bigger picture, you would stop crying over the silence of people and start rejoicing over the protection of destiny. Imagine a young student who applies for a scholarship. She works hard, fills out forms, writes essays, and dreams of a future. Weeks later, she receives the news: rejected. At first, she feels ignored, unseen, undervalued. The pain of that silence makes her feel like her efforts were wasted. But months later, another opportunity opens up: better funding, better exposure, better connections. Looking back, she realizes that the earlier rejection was not rejection at all. It was simply redirection towards something greater. That is what it means to see the bigger picture. What feels like the end is often just the beginning in disguise. The same is true in relationships. Perhaps someone you deeply care about starts ignoring you. They stop replying. They no longer call. They pretend not to see you. The pain of that silence cuts deeply, and your mind wants to hold on to them, to force their attention. But if you could zoom out, you might realize their absence is actually saving you from more heartbreak down the road. Sometimes people are removed from your life not because you are unworthy, but because your future is too precious to be tied to them. The bigger picture often reveals that their silence was protection, not rejection. Think about this. When you are reading a single page of a book, you may not understand why a character is suffering, why events seem unfair, or why tragedy strikes. But if you keep reading until the end, suddenly it all makes sense. That pain was necessary for growth. That silence was setting up the story. That loss was shaping the victory. Life is the same. One page of being ignored doesn't define your entire story. You must see the bigger picture to understand that this moment is just a part of a grander design. There was once a farmer who planted seeds in his field. For weeks, nothing sprouted. His neighbors laughed at him, ignored his efforts, and said, "Your land is barren." He could have reacted in anger, but instead, he chose patience. He saw the bigger picture, trusting that growth takes time. Months later, the same field burst into greenery, feeding his family and even his neighbors. Those who ignored him now stood in awe. What if he had given up? What if he had defined himself by their laughter? He would have lost everything. But because he saw the bigger picture, he endured their ignorance and reaped a harvest. In your life too, the silence of people can often push you toward growth. Sometimes, God allows someone to ignore you because He is teaching you independence. Sometimes people walk away because you are meant to stand on your own feet. Sometimes doors close because there are better ones ahead. The bigger picture shows you that what feels like abandonment is often alignment. Their silence is not meant to break you, it is meant to build you. Think of a puzzle. When you hold just one piece in your hand, it looks strange, incomplete, sometimes meaningless. But once the whole puzzle is assembled, that one odd piece fits perfectly into the larger image. Being ignored can feel like that odd piece. You don't understand why it's happening. You don't see its place in your story. But one day, when you look back, you will see how it all fits together. The people who ignored you made room for people who valued you. The doors that closed pushed you toward doors that opened. The moments of silence made you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. That is the bigger picture. Even in daily life, seeing the bigger picture saves you from unnecessary reaction. Imagine you greet someone in the morning and they walk past you without acknowledgement. Instead of shrinking into hurt, you choose to see the bigger picture. Maybe they are fighting an unseen battle. Maybe they are weighed down with family struggles. Maybe their mind is somewhere else entirely. Suddenly, their silence doesn't feel like rejection anymore. It feels like a reflection of their own journey. By seeing the bigger picture, you free yourself from taking things personally. And here lies the greatest gift. When you see the bigger picture, you no longer waste your time trying to force people to notice you. You stop chasing their attention and start focusing on your path. You learn to say, if they ignored me, it's okay. That silence is a sign. That rejection is protection. That closed door is redirection. And with that wisdom, you keep walking, knowing that the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments will align with your journey. So remember this always. When you feel ignored, don't get stuck staring at the closed door. Lift your eyes, see the bigger picture. Their silence is not the end of your story. It is just one small scene in a masterpiece that is still unfolding. And when the whole picture is revealed, you will realize that what felt like rejection was actually the very thing that guided you to your true destiny. Never let their silence silence you. There is a quiet danger in being ignored. When people treat you as though you don't exist, when they look past you as though you are invisible, it can slowly begin to whisper lies into your heart. Maybe I don't matter. Maybe I should stop speaking. Maybe I should hide my light because no one sees it anyway. But here is the truth. You were not created to be silent just because someone else cannot hear your voice. Their silence is not a command for you to shrink. It is an invitation for you to rise louder in confidence, louder in purpose, louder in self-belief. Think of a musician who pours their soul into a song. They perform it for an audience, and the room is quiet, no applause, no acknowledgement. The silence is heavy. The temptation is strong to think, maybe my music is worthless. Maybe I should stop singing. But does the silence truly measure the worth of the song? Absolutely not. The music itself is powerful, whether or not the audience claps. In the same way, your worth is not determined by the noise or silence of others. If you stop singing your song because people ignore you, the world loses a voice it desperately needed to hear. Life will test you with silence. A friend may stop replying to your messages. A workplace may overlook your contributions. A family member may treat you as though your opinions don't matter. In those moments, the temptation is to withdraw, to stop trying, to stop shining. But the real victory is in continuing to speak, to act, to live boldly, even when no one seems to notice. Their silence does not define your value, your courage to keep going defines it. There's a story of a candle in a dark room. Surrounded by shadows, the candle burns quietly, giving light. The shadows do not praise it, they do not applaud it, they do not even acknowledge its presence. Yet the candle keeps shining. Why? Because shining is its nature. It does not need applause to keep burning. It does not need validation to keep giving light. The same must be true for you. Even if no one claps, even if no one responds, even if the world ignores you, never let their silence silence you. Keep shining because that is who you are. Think about a student in a classroom who always raises their hand, answers questions, shares ideas. Some classmates roll their eyes, some ignore the contributions, some act as though those words are unimportant. Now imagine if that student decides, no one listens anyway, so I'll just stop speaking. What happens? The class loses valuable ideas, the student loses confidence, and the silence spreads further. But if that student chooses to keep raising their hand, to keep speaking, they not only grow in courage, but also inspire others who were too afraid to speak up. That is the power of refusing to let silence silence you. We live in a world where it is easy to confuse being noticed with being valuable. Social media, for instance, runs on attention, likes, comments, followers. When people post and receive silence instead of applause, many feel invisible, discouraged, even unworthy. But remember, a tree growing deep roots underground is unnoticed for years, yet those roots are building strength for a towering future. Just because people are silent about your growth does not mean you are not growing. Just because the world is not clapping does not mean heaven is not watching. Never measure your worth by the noise of others. There was once a young writer who published her first book. For months, sales were low, reviews were few, and silence surrounded her efforts. Many told her to give up, that her voice was not strong enough to be heard. But she chose not to let their silence silence her. She kept writing, kept creating, kept speaking through her words. Years later, her books touched millions, transforming lives across the world. What if she had stopped when no one was listening? What if she had allowed silence to bury her voice? The world would have lost her gift. Silence can be painful, but it can also be a teacher. It teaches you that your voice must be anchored in conviction, not applause. It teaches you to keep standing even when ignored. It teaches you that your mission in life is not to be acknowledged by everyone, but to stay true to yourself. When you refuse to be silenced by others, you build resilience. You become like a mountain, standing tall where the sky above is clear or stormy, whether people are climbing you or walking away. So, when people ignore you, keep smiling. When they dismiss your efforts, keep working. When they refuse to respond, keep speaking. Do not let their silence convince you that your words, your dreams, your existence don't matter. Because the truth is, some of the greatest voices in history were once ignored. Think of inventors, artists, leaders. Many were mocked or dismissed in their time, but they did not let the silence bury them. They kept going, and eventually, the world had no choice but to listen. Never let their silence you. Because silence from others is not the end of your story. It is simply a challenge, a test, a chance to prove that your strength comes from within, not from applause. Keep burning like that candle. Keep growing like that tree. Keep singing like that musician. Whether the world notices or not, your voice matters. Your light matters. Your presence matters. And one day, when the time is right, the same world that ignored you will be drawn to the radiance of a soul that refused to be silenced. So the next time someone ignores you, don't react, don't chase, don't crumble. Instead, stand tall, smile, and let your silence speak louder than their words. Because your worth is not measured by the attention you get, but by the peace you keep. Remember this: when they ignore you, let it elevate you. When they avoid you, let it refine you. And when they reject you, let it redirect you into the arms of those who truly see you. Somebody shout with me: my worth is not up for debate!